Here will be times when you are disrespected, subtly, overtly, intentionally. The most natural human response is to react, to defend, to strike back. But that response is precisely what gives power away. What's critical to understand neurologically and psychologically is this. Silence is not weakness. Silence in the right moment is control. When someone disrespects you, they are not just attacking your ego, they are seeking activation. They want to trigger a cascade of emotional responses. Dopamine spikes, cortisol release, a feedback loop they can feed off. But if you stay quiet, if you pause, you interrupt the loop. You flip the system, you move from a reactive to a responsive state, and in that stillness you rise above them. The most dangerous person in the room is the one who can stay composed, who can delay gratification, who can delay reaction. Because when you don't flinch, when you don't fight, you create uncertainty in the other person's mind. Your silence forces them to sit with their own noise. You didn't just reject the insult, you denied them the satisfaction of getting to you. And here's the deeper science. When you stay quiet, you activate parts of the brain involved in executive function and emotional regulation. You conserve energy. You create space for long-term thinking. Instead of fighting battles that don't serve you, you preserve bandwidth for your purpose, for your vision, for your mission. You're not just staying quiet, you're staying aligned. In a world that rewards constant reaction, restraint is rare, and in that rarity is power. So the next time someone tries to provoke you, let them talk. Let them disrespect. Let them misunderstand. Don't let them dictate who you become in that moment. Staying quiet doesn't mean you didn't feel it. It means you chose not to be ruled by it. And that kind of power, that's unshakable. Silence activates higher order control in the brain, something most people overlook when they're consumed by the heat of disrespect. When someone insults you or crosses a boundary, your limbic system, particularly the amygdala, lights up. It's the part of your brain responsible for threat detection and emotional reactivity. In that moment, your body wants to respond. Your heart rate spikes, cortisol rises, and your focus narrows to the perceived threat. You feel the urge to speak, to fight back, to reclaim dominance through confrontation. That's the automatic path, the reactive path. It's also the path most likely to leave you drained, regretting your words, or escalating a situation that didn't need your energy in the first place. But silence, in contrast, recruits a different system, your prefrontal cortex. This is the area responsible for executive function, decision-making, and emotional regulation. It's what allows you to pause, to assess, and to strategically choose your response. You remain quiet even when provoked. You're not suppressing your emotions. You're regulating them. You're not avoiding conflict. You're choosing to rise above its gravitational pull. That control is both psychological and neurobiological. You're essentially giving your nervous system space to recalibrate, allowing the initial emotional surge to pass without acting on it. This higher order control is deeply tied to long-term thinking. Immediate reactions are short-term plays. They might make you feel good for a second, but they rarely lead to good outcomes. Silence allows you to extend the timeline. It buys you the most valuable currency in any stressful situation. Time to observe, time to evaluate, time to let the physiology of anger settle so you can act from clarity, not chaos. This isn't avoidance, it's precision. It's mastery over the most volatile force we face, our own state. There's also a shift in identity when you can stay silent after disrespect. No longer someone who dances on the strings of every insult or misjudgment. You become someone who chooses. You define the moment, not the other way around. The world sees a calm exterior, but internally you've activated a structure of deliberate restraint. That restraint isn't passive, it's a form of active strength. You are not suppressing your voice out of fear or submission. You are choosing not to expend energy where it yields no value. You understand that the real win isn't being loud, it's being unshaken. From a biological standpoint, this level of control creates resilience. When you make a habit of staying calm under pressure, you're training your nervous system to recover faster. You're shortening the time it takes to move from a reactive state back to a baseline. Over time, this lowers your overall stress load, sharpens your cognitive function, and enhances your capacity to handle future challenges with poise. It becomes less about any single moment of disrespect and more about how you condition your system to respond to life as a whole. So staying silent, therefore, isn't about doing nothing. It's about doing the deepest kind of something, choosing regulation over reaction, control over chaos, and power over impulse. Reaction is reward. This is one of the most overlooked psychological truths when it comes to disrespect and confrontation. The moment someone disrespects you, whether subtly through a passive-aggressive comment or blatantly through direct insult, they're often not looking for resolution. They're looking for a reaction. That response, especially if it's emotional, is their win. It tells them they have power over your internal state. The CI, the glare, the sharp reply, those aren't just emotional reflexes. They are cues that their attempt to provoke has succeeded. In many cases, the disrespect isn't even about the content of what's said. It's a strategy designed to see if they can manipulate your state, dominate your focus, hijack your energy. From a neurobiological perspective, reactions release dopamine, not just in you, but also in the person provoking you. They feel rewarded. Your reaction becomes their reinforcement. It tells them you matter enough to change how I feel. Whether it's anger, frustration, or a defensive explanation, your emotional energy becomes currency. And once you've paid it, you can't get it back. But when you don't react, when you hold the line, stay composed and give them nothing, they get nothing. No reward, no rise, just silence. And silence in this context is more than absence. It's refusal. Refusal to give away the only power that truly matters, your attention and emotional control. When you react, you make the moment about the other person. You let them steer the wheel of your state. But when you stay neutral, when you hold that space between stimulus and response, you claim ownership over yourself. It's not about ignoring emotions. It's about not letting those emotions turn into impulsive, self-destructive behavior. The provocations don't disappear, but your reaction becomes a conscious choice rather than a compulsive habit. This shift in agency is profound. You move from being a puppet of your emotional triggers to being the director of your mental and emotional responses. The desire to react is deeply human. It's wired into us from an evolutionary standpoint as a defense mechanism. But in today's world, where conflict often doesn't come with physical threats, but with psychological games, restraint becomes the superior adaptation. You're not being weak by not reacting. You're being wise. You understand the long game. You recognize that not every insult requires a counterattack. Not every jab needs an explanation. Not every false narrative deserves a correction. Because in most cases, the louder your reaction, the more it confirms the other person's sense of control. Silence in response to disrespect isn't about avoiding conflict. It's about denying your opponent the satisfaction of your energy. The person who can't control their reaction is easy to read, easy to manipulate, easy to destabilize. The person who maintains composure, who refuses to hand over their emotional reins, becomes unpredictable, unreadable, untouchable. That unpredictability is intimidating because it suggests strength, depth, and discipline always signals danger to those who rely on chaos to win. Cortisol control and emotional recovery are fundamental aspects of how we handle disrespect and provocation. When someone disrespects you, your body responds automatically. The hypothalamus signals the adrenal glands to release cortisol, often called the stress hormone. This hormone prepares your body to face a perceived threat by increasing heart rate, blood pressure, and energy supplies. It is part of the fight or flight response, an evolutionary mechanism designed to help you survive physical danger. However, in modern social conflicts, this response can become maladaptive. The spike in cortisol is meant to be brief, but when you react impulsively to disrespect, you prolong this stress response, keeping your body and mind in a heightened state of alert. This prolonged elevation is damaging because it impairs cognitive function, reduces emotional regulation, and wears down your physical health. Understanding cortisol's role offers a powerful tool. By staying silent and composed, you allow your body to regulate itself naturally. When you resist the urge to immediately respond to disrespect, you're not suppressing emotions. Instead, you're enabling your nervous system to return to baseline more quickly. This process is critical for emotional recovery because it prevents you from entering a vicious cycle of stress, reaction, and exhaustion. In practical terms, this means that silence after disrespect isn't passive. It's active physiological regulation. You give your brain the opportunity to clear the emotional fog, regain clarity, and engage higher cognitive functions that are necessary for thoughtful decision-making. Emotional recovery is closely linked to cortisol control because when cortisol levels remain high, your brain's ability to think rationally diminishes. The prefrontal cortex, responsible for logic, planning, and self-control, becomes compromised, while the amygdala, which governs fear and aggression, takes over. This shift makes you prone to reactive, emotionally charged responses that you might later regret. By consciously choosing silence, you reduce the duration of cortisol exposure, preserving the functionality of your prefrontal cortex. This is what allows you to respond with intention rather than impulse, ensuring your words and actions reflect your true values rather than momentary anger. Moreover, managing cortisol through silence builds resilience over time. Each time you successfully navigate a stressful social encounter without immediate reaction, you train your body to handle future stress more efficiently. This adaptive process reduces the overall burden of chronic stress on your system, leading to better mental health and emotional stability. You become less susceptible to emotional hijacking and more capable of maintaining composure in high-pressure situations. This physiological resilience is a form of mental toughness, one that allows you to operate at peak performance even when provoked. Another important aspect of cortisol control through silence is the preservation of energy. Reacting emotionally to disrespect drains mental and physical resources. The energy spent in verbal defense, emotional agitation, or internal turmoil detracts from your ability to focus on your goals and priorities. By choosing silence, you conserve that energy, redirecting it toward constructive efforts that serve your long-term success and well-being. This redirection is crucial because it shifts your internal state from reaction to creation, from distraction to focus. Silence as a strategy for cortisol control and emotional recovery is not about weakness or submission. It is about mastering your internal environment and creating a physiological foundation for strength, clarity, and resilience. It is a deliberate act of self-care and strategic control that enables you to move through conflict with grace and power. Energy conservation and redirection are essential principles often overlooked when dealing with disrespect or conflict. Every emotional reaction consumes a significant amount of your mental and physical energy. When you respond immediately to provocation, you engage not only your mind, but also your body in a complex biochemical cascade. Your heart rate increases, your muscles tense, and your brain floods with stress hormones like adrenaline and cortisol. This reaction, while evolutionarily designed to help you survive, is costly in terms of energy. It demands resources that could be better invested elsewhere toward goals, creativity, relationships, and growth. Understanding this cost is the first step toward mastering how you handle disrespect. Choosing silence after being disrespected is not about passive resignation. It is a strategic form of energy conservation. By not reacting impulsively, you avoid unnecessary expenditure of your psychological and physiological resources. Instead of entering a draining cycle of conflict, your energy remains available for tasks that align with your purpose and long-term vision. This conserved energy can be redirected toward constructive actions that build momentum and progress rather than being dissipated in a moment of emotional turbulence. The discipline to stay quiet in the face of disrespect essentially acts like a powerful reservoir that you fill up rather than drain, fueling your productivity and resilience. And redirecting energy is equally important as conserving it. When you hold back from reacting, you create a pause, a critical moment where you can decide where your focus should truly lie. Instead of engaging in a back and forth of blame, anger, or defensiveness, you can channel your mental and emotional energy toward reflection and strategy. This shift from reactive to proactive thinking transforms potential distractions into opportunities. The energy that could have been wasted on conflict is repurposed to deepen your understanding, sharpen your skills, or pursue your ambitions with greater clarity and intensity. This conscious redirection of energy separates those who succeed despite challenges from those who falter under pressure. The physical and mental fatigue that accompanies repeated emotional reactions is well documented in neuroscience. Each stressful encounter activates the sympathetic nervous system, which consumes energy reserves and leaves you depleted. By staying silent and refusing to engage in reactive behavior, you enable your parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest mode, to activate sooner. This shift allows your body to recover faster, replenishing your energy stores and maintaining balance. Over time, this practice enhances your overall stamina, emotional endurance, and capacity to face adversity without being worn down. Energy conservation through silence also plays a key role in maintaining social and professional relationships. Reacting impulsively often escalates conflicts, damaging trust and respect. When you choose to stay quiet, you avoid fueling negativity and open space for more thoughtful, constructive interactions later on. This approach not only conserves your own energy, but also prevents draining others around you, fostering an environment where respect and calm can eventually be restored. Moreover, redirecting energy away from reaction toward growth is a form of empowerment. It acknowledges that you have control over your internal state and how you invest your resources. This mindset encourages resilience, patience, and focus, qualities that enable you to persevere through challenges without losing sight of your goals. By treating your energy as a valuable asset to be guarded and purposefully allocated, you set the foundation for sustained success rather than short bursts of reactive effort followed by exhaustion. Delayed response is strategic dominance. It's a concept that runs counter to our instinctive desire to react immediately, especially when faced with disrespect or provocation. The urge to respond right away is deeply embedded in human nature. Evolution shaped us to act quickly to threats, to defend ourselves or assert power before the moment slips away. Yet in modern social dynamics, that immediacy often works against us. By choosing to delay your response, you reclaim control over the situation and signal a deeper form of strength that goes beyond words or immediate reactions. When you pause before responding, you create a psychological space where you are no longer simply a participant in the emotional exchange, but a deliberate actor. This pause interrupts the natural flow of confrontation, unsettling the person who sought to provoke you. They expect a reaction, a quick return volley, a visible sign that their disrespect hit a nerve. When that reaction is withheld, it throws them off balance. They lose the advantage of controlling the emotional tempo of the interaction. In that moment, you gain dominance, not through aggression or loudness, but through calm calculation. The power of delayed response is tied to your ability to regulate your internal state. By waiting, you prevent the automatic activation of the fight or flight response, allowing your prefrontal cortex to engage fully. This engagement facilitates rational thinking, emotional regulation, and strategic planning. Instead of saying something in anger or frustration, you give yourself the chance to respond in a way that aligns with your values and long-term goals. This kind of response is far more effective and impactful than an impulsive reaction. It carries weight because it is intentional, not reactive. Delayed response also demonstrates confidence. When you do not feel compelled to react immediately, you convey that you are not easily rattled or manipulated. This confidence can be disarming. People who provoke others often seek to expose vulnerability or weakness. By maintaining your composure and responding on your own timeline, you show that you are in command of yourself and the situation. This subtle form of dominance can be more intimidating than confrontation because it suggests depth, patience, and self-control, qualities that are inherently powerful. In addition, delaying your response allows you to gather more information and perspective. Immediate reactions are limited by the moment's emotional intensity and often lack context. A delay gives you the opportunity to consider the other person's motivations, the environment, and the bigger picture. This broader perspective helps you craft a response that is not only measured but also strategically aligned with your interests. It's a shift from reactive thinking to strategic thinking, which positions you as a leader rather than a reactor. This approach can also de-escalate tension. When you respond immediately to disrespect, you risk escalating the conflict, intensifying emotions, and damaging relationships. A delayed response, on the other hand, can cool down the emotional temperature of the situation. It signals that you are not willing to engage in petty exchanges, setting a tone of maturity and respect. This can open the door to more constructive dialogue or simply diffuse the tension entirely. Moreover, delayed response is a demonstration of patience and resilience. It requires discipline to hold back immediate reactions and trust that your thoughtful response will have greater impact. This patience cultivates resilience because you learn to withstand provocation without losing your center. It trains your mind to prioritize long-term gains over short-term satisfaction. In this way, delayed response is not just a tactic. It's a mindset that fosters sustained personal strength and influence. And staying quiet after disrespect is not an act of weakness. It is the highest expression of strength, discipline, and self-respect. In a world that rewards impulsive noise, silence becomes a rare and powerful currency. When you withhold your reaction, you don't just protect your energy. You elevate your position. You signal that your peace is non-negotiable. Your emotions are not for sale, and your power lies not in how loudly you respond, but in how deliberately you choose not to. The person who can master their response is the person who cannot be controlled. And that kind of composure is not just strength, it is unshakable dominance.